Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over section 6.2 on our series on dividing decimals. We're going to be looking at how to divide whole numbers by decimals in this presentation. A sample problem that we're going to be looking at in this tutorial is depicted here at what is 32.8, a decimal divided by 4, a whole number. Don't forget, we have practice problems included at the end of this presentation for you to try out in order to demonstrate mastery of the contents of this presentation. Alright, to get us started, we're going to do a real quick review on the formulas that are going to guide our problem solving process, basically showing the relationship between the numbers that we're dividing and the solution. We went over this formula multiple times in our previous presentations, but this is just a real quick recap, okay? So the formula is as follows. If you're dividing two numbers, the number that comes first is known as the dividend, okay? So the dividend divided by the number you're dividing by is called the divisor. All right, so dividend divided by the divisor is going to give you a quotient plus the remainder. In today's presentation, our dividend will be a decimal and our divisor will be a whole number. Okay, so we're dividing decimals by whole numbers. We're also going to be checking our work to make sure that it's correct, and in order for us to check, we're just simply going to multiply the quotient by the divisor and add the remainder. All right, in today's presentation, we're not going to have any remainders to add on to it. Our remainders will be 0 by design, okay, and that should give us the dividend. So this is a nice way for you to check to see if your division procedure is accurate. Okay, all right, so now we're going to write down the instructions for the examples. The task at hand is for us to find the quotient. Okay, quotient is a fancy word for divide. All right, before we get started, let's go over the steps that are going to guide our problem solving process. We're going to be applying a lot of skills that we covered in Unit 5 in this particular tutorial. All those little tricks for dividing numbers will be also applied to dividing decimals by whole numbers, all right? Okay, so the steps are as follows. Now, the first things first, you want to make sure that, let's call that one, that you move the decimals to make the divisor whole, to make the divisor a whole number. In today's presentation, all our divisors will already be whole numbers, but in the next lesson 6.2, we're going to be dividing two decimals, so step 1 will be applicable, but it's not applicable here, but it's something to keep in mind, extremely important. When you're dividing decimals using long division, you want to make sure that your divisor is a whole number. If it's not, then you have to move the decimal points of the dividend and divisor the same number of times to accomplish that state for your divisor. All right. Okay, and then after that, we can do our typical steps for long division. But before we do that, first of all, you're going to just ignore the decimal. Ignore the decimal. Okay. We're going to deal with that last. So act as though the decimal point is not there. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. A, B, C, D, E. All right, so this looks familiar, right? Because this is basically what we're doing in Unit 5 over and over again when we're dividing, doing our long division. So you bring down and then you repeat. Now, you might wonder, where does the decimal point go in the whole problem, in the answer? Where does it show up? Well, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the last. What you do with the decimal is the decimal point basically floats up, okay? So you're going to float up the decimal. Float up the decimal point. It doesn't matter if you do it at the beginning or at the end, or even while you're walking through the problem, but just remember that the decimal point, you just float up the decimal point. All right, we're going to apply all these steps to the examples that we're going to be doing, and it'll make perfect sense. Nothing too complicated here. Number one, what if we are to divide the decimal 5.76 by 3? To get us started, let's go ahead and review our multiplication facts again real quick for 3. Right, our skills drill for 3. Multiplication facts for 3 from 1 all the way to 12. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. That's 3 times 6, 3 times 7, 21. 3 times 8, 24. 27. 3 times 9, 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 11, 33. 3 times 12 is 36. So you can see that it's really important for you to know your multiplication facts. Those can really help you to carry out a lot of procedures in mathematics, including long division. All right, so we have these out. These are going to help us a lot without division. So let's go ahead and divide. The number that comes first, that's going to be the number on top. If it's written as a fraction, we know that the top dog goes in the dog house, right? So that first number goes underneath the long division bars. Let's put it in there. So that's 5.76. And then the divisor goes outside. Bam, 3. All right, so basically when you set up the long division bars, it's written in reverse order. 5.76 divided by 3 is like 3, and then you have the long division bars and 5.76. Okay, so 1 says move the decimal points to make the divisor a whole number. Okay, so in this particular case, the divisor is already a whole number. If the divisor had a decimal point associated with it, we're going to move the decimal point of both divisor and dividend until our divisor is a whole number. So it's already a whole number. Nice. So move on. Ignore the decimal point for now. Okay, we're just going to divide like regular, and then we'll deal with it when we get to it. So divide, multiply, subtract. Let's divide first. How many times does 3 go into 5? How many whole 3's are there in 5? Well, it doesn't go evenly because 5 doesn't show up as a multiple of 3. So we're going to pick the biggest multiple of 3 that's smaller than 5 and ask how many times does 3 go into that. That tells us the maximum number of times that 3 can go into 5, right? So the biggest factor of 3 that's a multiple of 3 that's smaller than 5 is 3. Bam, right there. How many times does 3 go into 3? 3 goes into 3 exactly once. There's one whole 3 in 3. All right, so put that down. Right above 5. So that's divide. And then we multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. Divide, multiply. What do we do next? Subtract. Have 2. Okay, and then bring down. Don't touch the decimal point now. Bring down the next number, which is 7. Okay? Since we have passed the decimal point, this decimal point, we can talk and deal with it right now. The decimal point floats up, bam, right there, straight vertically upwards. So you have to make sure that you align your digits vertically. It has to be perfectly aligned vertically or else you misplace your decimal point. Okay? So the decimal point floats right up. You could do it in the middle, beginning, or end, it doesn't matter. All right? Just make sure that the divisor is a whole number first. Okay, now we're going to repeat the process again. How many times does 3 go into 27? It goes evenly. If you look at our multiplication chart right here, we see 27 is right here. That's 9 times. 3 times 9 is 27, right? So if you divide 27 by 3, you get 9. All right, so divide, you get 9. Multiply. Divide, multiply. 9 times 3, subtract. 0. Okay, we still have one digit there. What do we do with that? We'll bring it down. Bam. How many times does 3 go into 6? 3 goes into 6 evenly, right? Because 6 is right here. How many times does 3 go into 6? Twice. 3 times 2 is 6. Therefore, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Divide, multiply, 3 times 2, 6, subtract, bam. All right, so don't forget, this number we got up here is your quotient, and this number right here is your remainder. Is our answer correct? Well, we're going to do a check, okay? So we're just going to take our quotient, 1.92, and multiply it by our divisor and see if we get our dividend. There isn't any remainder to add on here. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 9 is 27, 7 carry 2, 3, 1, 3, plus 2, 5. Now, using our skills for multiplying decimals, we covered this previously, one of our units. How do we place the decimal points? Do you remember? All you do is you count how many digits are to the right of the decimal point in your multiply and multiplicand, in your factors. Okay, and that tells you. In this particular problem, we have 1, 2. 2 digits are to the right of the decimal point, so we're going to place our decimal point right here. 1, 2, bam. 2 places. So it's 5.76. Now, is 5.76 our dividend? Absolutely. We have a match, so our answer is correct. Okay, so let's go ahead and write down our concluding statement. 5.76 divided by 3 is 1.92. Okay, let's go ahead and box that. Let's try another example. Problem number 2. What if you were to divide 73.5, the decimal 73.5 by 5? Let's try that. All right, so we're going to follow the same procedure. We're going to write down our multiplication facts. Just a real quick review. Skills drills review from 5 all the way, from 1 all the way to 12. Okay, 5, 1, 5, 10, 15, 20. That's 5 times 5, 25. 6, 30, 35, 40. That's 5 times 8. 45 times 9, 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times 11 is 55, 5 times 12 is 60. Bam. All right, let's do it. So we have 73.5 divided by 5, so we switch the order. Place the divisor goes outside, and then the dividend, let's move it to the right a little bit. So 5. The dividend is the top if it's written as a fraction. And the top dog goes in the dog house. So 73.5 goes in there. Now, we're dividing decimals. So our divisor must be a whole number. It is. So it checks step 1's condition. Ignore the decimal right now. You can just float it up. It doesn't really matter. But it's going to get floated up whenever you want. Okay, let's just float it up now just to show you. So eventually this is exactly where it's going to be, right there. Bam. Okay, all right, so 5 goes into 7. How many times does 5 go into 7? It doesn't go evenly. The biggest multiple of 5 that's smaller than 7 is 5 itself. 5 goes into 5 once, so that's divide, multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. Divide, multiply, subtract. Bam, 2. Bring down. Repeat. How many times does 5 go into 23? Not evenly, because 23 is in here. The biggest multiple of 5 that's smaller than 23 is 20. How many times does 5 go into 20? 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Bam. Okay? Like that. So we have the 5 here. 35. How many times does 5 go into 35? You know your multiplication facts is 7 times, because 7 times 5 is 35 right here. Bam. Right? So 7 times 5, 35. Divide, multiply, subtract. 0. We are done. All right? So this number up here is your quotient. And your remainder is 0. No remainder here. Is our answer correct? Let's go ahead and do a check by multiplying. So we're going to multiply our quotient 14.7 by our divisor, which is 5, and see if we get our dividend. There are no remainders to add on here, okay? Let's do it. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 carry 3. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 3, 23, 3. Carry 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2, 7. There's only one digit to the right of the decimal point in our factors. So we're going to move our decimal point just one place. 73.5 is the answer. So question, is this result equal to our dividend? It certainly is. Check mark. Bam, our answer is correct. Let's go ahead and write down our solution statement. The number 73 divided by 5 is 14.7. That's our quotient right there. Okay. Alrighty, let's take a look at one last example, and then we'll give you some practice problems to try out. Question number 3. Let's say you're dividing the decimal 0.273 by 13. Now we have a 2-digit number. So you're going to apply exactly the same procedure. All right, so to get us started, we're going to write down our multiples of 13 just to guide our problem solving process. So 13 times 1 is 13 times 2, 26, 39, 52. 13 times 5 is 65. 13 times 6 is 78. 91. 13 times 7, 13 times 8 is 104. 117, 13 times 9, 13 times 10 is 130. 13 times 11 is 143. And then 13 times 12 is 152. Oh, sorry, 156. Is at 13 there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to write it as 13. The divisor goes first, divided by the decimal, which is our dividend. It goes underneath the long division bars, 273. Okay. So how many times does 13 go into 0? 0 is smaller than 13, so 13 can go into it, right? So we're going to move on to the next place value, put a 0 there, and then our decimal point, just float it up while we're at it, okay? Just float up the decimal point. 13 how many times does 13 go into 2? 0, 2. It doesn't go. 0, 2 is smaller than 13, so we're going to put another 0 and consider the first three numbers. Okay, so how many times does 13 go into 27? 0, 2, 7. Ignore the 0. 27. How many times does 13 go into 27? 27 is not on our list of multiples of 13, so we're going to look at for the biggest multiple of 13 that's smaller than 27, and that is 26. That was so close, right? 13 times 2 is 26, so 26 divided by 13 is going to be 2. 2 times 13, 26. Subtract. Okay. Always subtract. We have 1. So we'll follow the same procedure, right? Divide, multiply, subtract, which we just did, and bring down. Bam. How many times does 13 go into 13? 13 goes into 13 exactly once. Multiply, subtract, 0. We are done. All right, so there goes your quotient right there. Let's go ahead and check to see if our answer is in fact correct. So multiply the quotient 0.021 by the divisor, which is 13. Okay. And let's see what we get here. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. And everything else is zeros. Right. And then 1 times, so we're going to the tens place now. Sorry, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Everything else is 0. Just add it downwards. So it's going to be 273. Where do we place our decimal point? We look at how many digits are to the right of the decimal point. We have 1, 2, 3. There are 3 numbers to the right of the decimal point, right? So that means that we're going to move our decimal point 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. Right there. Bam. So the answer is 0.273. Does this match our dividend? Absolutely, it matches. So we have a check mark. Our answer is correct. Let's go ahead and write down our solution statement. 0.273 divided by 13 is 0.021. Bam. Okay. There goes the answer to question number 3. Alrighty, now it's your turn to do some practice problems. Here are the 3 practice problems for you to try out. Go ahead and pause the video presentation at this time and work through these problems. Once you are done, click on the playback button and we are going to reveal what the correct answers are. Alrighty, so go ahead and pause the video at this time and try out these 3 practice problems. Welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to try out the practice problems. Here are the solutions. Go ahead and check it out. How well did you do? Let us know how well you did in the comments section below. If you did well, don't forget to destroy that like button. If you have any questions about these practice problems or what we went over in the original presentation, just specify it in the comment section below and we'll be more than glad to support you. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video presentation. Don't forget to help support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing this with your friends. Tons of support resources can be found at mathgotserved.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.